how do you build an app or a custom software?
Yep.
What are the next steps in developing a successful tech solution, app, software,
platform,
game, whatever. And then how do you prevent common pitfalls from occurring along the way? So
that's a good one.
That's the goal. So if you've had an idea and you don't know where to begin or how to get started, how to get going, or you've already started and you failed and you don't know how to kind of recover, turn up your volume because this is an episode for you.
Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit, you just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles, time to take it to the next level. Let's go.
Welcome. How we doing?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Not bad. Welcome to Venture Hustles.
Yes, sir. This is your everyday, every week tech, startup, entrepreneurship, venture, hustle podcast, where your co-host, Saj and Jack, will talk to you about or discuss, different ideas about startups, businesses, successful, how to be a successful brand. We'll be bringing in guests from time to time, and most of it would be focused on our experiences and
what we've learned in the process.
Yep, absolutely. But do you ever have an idea, Jack?
I have a couple in the vault. One in particular. Problem still not solved. Great idea. I'm telling you, it's a great idea, man.
Problems to not solve.
No, the problem still isn't solved.
Oh, what is it?
It's not something that I'll share at this moment in time, but it's a good idea. Tech based, so I know it's very, very possible.
Would you tell me off cam?
I'll tell you off cam.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm curious to see. So I guess you've had ideas then. But if you've ever had an idea,
have you had ideas?
Oh yeah, I told you about this. I got a little Moleskine book full of ideas. I used to take notes in.
Little diary.
Little black diary, tiny, just kind of like 6 inches.
A Saj's diary. Is it pink or is it black?
Is that a problem?
It's not a problem.
That I diarize or whatever the fuck.
Diarize? I'm not sure if that's a word.
No.
In the comments, if that's a word, let us know.
I don't even know.
Spam it. Spam. Just spam it all. Spam the comments.
Well, anyway, if you ever had an idea, let's say you're like, wow, this particular thing just came in my head and I don't think this exists. I think we need to do something about it. I think people need to see the solution. I need to, launch this or create a business or a brand around it. What do you do? How do you take that idea from an idea and potentially translate that into a product or a solution? And more importantly, what we're going to talk about at Venture Hustles today are tech startup ideas, right? And how to bring them to life. Basically, how do you build an app or a custom software?
Yep.
What are the next steps in developing a successful tech solution, app, software,
platform,
game, whatever. And then how do you prevent common pitfalls from occurring along the way? So
that's a good one.
That's the goal. So if you've had an idea and you don't know where to begin or how to get started, how to get going, or you've already started and you failed and you don't know how to kind of recover, turn up your volume because this is an episode for you.
Shall we?
Yes, sir.
So, let's start at ground zero here, I guess. So you have an idea. Now, I think it's important to note that you might, like you had mentioned in the beginning, this might be an idea that you just thought of. So there's no real thought process or execution plan yet because it's new. And then you can also be in the place where maybe you've had ideas brewing and you've been thinking about this. You have planned something out. You do have some napkin sketches, some paper sketches. What is the first thing to do.
I think the best angle that me and you can take here is go off of someone or something from scratch. An idea from scratch. Simply because even if you're on the other side here and you have an idea, you've developed the product and you failed, or you're kind of experiencing pitfalls right now, I feel like through that process of, as we discuss the important steps,
we'll cover some things.
Yeah, you'll be able to start identifying things that you could do to self-diagnose even. Because it'd be difficult for us to kind of cover everything.
I agree.
But I say we stick to that. So I guess let's talk about an idea. What's an idea you're willing to share here?
An idea I'm willing to share. Let's say this is a cool one and it exists, but I saw it and I was like, wow, this is kind of cool.
Okay.
2 things, not related at all. So I guess I'll go the more tech-centric way, which is how would I describe this? The digital keyboard. Remember I sent you that?
Okay.
The digital keyboard. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I thought that was a fire idea. It's pretty cool, I think.
It's super futuristic. When the first time I saw it was a couple years ago, and it was like, so that's when you shared that with me, I was like, this existed for a while. It's just not
widely used at all
because it's just horribly built, and it's not a seamless solution.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
You tried it?
Yeah. No, I didn't try it, but that's
what the review said.
It didn't get adopted by, let's say, Logitech or Microsoft or Lenovo for that reason. Right?
Okay,
because
that's fair.
Then they could shrink down and eliminate all of that keyboard space on a laptop. What Jack is talking about essentially is a piece of tech that like projects a virtual keyboard on your table or
you connect to your computer and then it projects like a virtual keyboard.
Yeah, it's like the size
just
of a cup, maybe smaller.
Yeah,
and it projects. It's like holograph.
Like that cat meme, but it's on a virtual keyboard.
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty sick when I first saw it. I was like, yo.
But it's not that responsive. That's the thing. It doesn't work like the way a keyboard would probably work. But anyway, let's say that's an idea that's like really good. But you're talking about a hardware-based idea though. So we should probably, because today's topic is creating an app idea or like launching an app and a startup essentially. Like, what do you do? So let's think about like a software-based product, or we can just stick with that idea.
No, we can. Let's see. Let's think. How about we do how about this? How about an app that would be able to scan sneakers, clothing, bags, materialistic items, and be able to authenticate them if they're real or not? So let's say you're going to buy a pair of Jordans or a Louis Vuitton bag, purse.
You take a picture and it tells you if it's real or not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It'd be very difficult to do, but let's say hypothetically that's the idea.
Well, let's say I had this idea. I don't know that.
All right. So the first thing that immediately comes to mind, right? Let's say you had this idea, would be, is this a good idea? How
does one establish this is a good idea?
Correct. So your goal should be to validate that idea, because the next question right after that should be, how much money do I have to bring this idea to life? Because if step 1 is your idea validation, you fail at that, then you should never get to step 2, waste money. So what I would do in this case, I guess like we can talk, what would you do?
What would I do? I would see if anything like that exists on the market.
Let's say it doesn't.
It doesn't? Great.
Let's say that's like you've done the market research. You're at a stage where nothing like this exists, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea. Like, it still doesn't mean it's a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Because you could have zero competition, but if it's a horrible idea...
Well, there might be a reason for that.
Correct.
Then the next thing I would probably do is to see... So I guess a little sidebar is if I had this idea, I'm imagining that I would also... I've encountered this issue before. If I haven't, then I would probably see if this is a need in that particular market, the reselling market, whether they're selling handbags or sneakers, whatever it is. The answer to that question is yes. There are people that have trouble authenticating because typically, and again, to my knowledge, it's very manual. I know there's a lot of sneaker events and things like that where they have, a team of people just going through the sneakers, smelling them, looking at it, looking at the threads, looking at the material to authenticate. So let's say the answer to that question is yes, it is something that could work, right? So no competition. Seems like it's a good idea based on the problem that I've researched, spoken to people, etc. I think one of the next things is how feasible is this and how can I do this? Is it possible to even do?
Okay. Yeah, I think those are good questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that in the process of me validating this, so one of the first things that I would do is I would first keep it super minimal. Like if you don't know this and you're hearing this for the first time, great. I would act on it. But basically what I'm saying is I would, this is a software or an app that you're creating.
Mm-hmm.
So there's tons and tons of free tools out there.
Yep.
Let's say Canva is a free design tool.
Yep.
Sketch, free design tool.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
There's a bunch of them.
so still. But there's a bunch. So one of the first things I would do, since this is an app idea, is create a basic rough outline on, let's say, Google Docs of what the app is supposed to do, what your technological, intellectual property is, what's your value proposition of why this is different, why this is unique, why this is solving problems. What is the problem? What is the solution? Write it out on a piece of paper. And then if you are not a tech-savvy design person, right, you don't have to make it beautiful. You can just start putting your ideas, your concepts, your words into some sort of a visual representation form that can be demoed. I'm not talking about demoing to an investor, but more of like a product demo in its rawest form. So may that be on Canva, which is a free tool, and you pull up a couple of presentation slides, you draw up a couple of things that show how this app would work, even if it's like 2-3 things conceptually and how it's different. Without having to hire anybody. Again, I'm talking about a $0 initial startup expense to validate your idea.
I mean, to be honest, I'm probably just drawing stuff out on like a piece of paper. I think realistically, it's probably a lot easier.
100% easier, but it's not effective. Nobody cares about like paper towel ideas anymore. That's what I would say. Like this isn't like.
Well, that wouldn't be the final product, right? That'd be something that's like, hey, you take it to someone that can bring. I would call up an app and software development company.
I think it's too early for that. Again, like for me personally, I wouldn't do that right away. Like you're still trying to you're in the idea validation phase. What I would do is if you have.
I was on step 3. You're on step 1 still.
100%. Because step 1 is probably the most vital step that can save you. That's one of the pitfalls to avoid. Tens of thousands of dollars. If you fail in step 1, why would you get to step 3?
I mean, well, based on this example, I've moved past that. All of my checks or boxes have been checked.
How did you get validated?
What do you mean?
How did you get your idea to get how did you validate your idea?
I saw that I spoke to the industry. It seems like there's a need for it.
With what?
My idea.
What was your idea on a piece of paper?
Conceptual. Speaking with vendors, going to events.
Okay, so you didn't really take the extra step of like drawing something on mapping, doing like a product demo. Something that you could have done for free. I would do that extra mile is what I'm saying. Okay.
I'd rather talk to people, see if something they're interested in or would be using, then start to draw.
Yeah, but once you have an idea, once you have something a little bit more physical, it's tangible. It's not theoretical anymore. It's very, very different, and you'll find it very different when you're telling them a concept, even in an elevator pitch, or you're showing them something that they've never seen before. And it might not be perfect, might not be beautiful, but that's what I would do. I would validate it through that to the best that I can. There have been a lot of ideas, me personally, where I've talked to people about it and they've given me feedback. But then it takes me to sit back and think that if I actually did a demo with them live, would they have the same answer? Because
well, that's the thing. How effective would a Canva demo be?
It could be very effective, especially if it's a software product idea, 100%. Because you're starting to see a visual representation of how this would operate. And it's not just theoretical. Because in theory, you can make anything sound amazing.
Oh, I mean, of course.
That's the point. I don't know. We may disagree, but that's the route that I would take. I would go the extra mile and kind of like cleaning that up in that initial process just because that would be my way of avoiding pitfalls, right? So then, I would go to industry experts and pitch the idea. Would you use this? Do you see this being a problem? Do you see what problems does this solve outside of things that you've already identified? and then strengthen your overall brand mission. That's what I would do. And then build off of that. If majority of the feedback and the consensus that you're hearing is good from industry experts, from you, let's say, going on trade shows and actually, like for a sneaker app, that's what I would do. There's so many sneaker trade shows.
Yeah.
And I would validate this from people that are actually on the ground. It doesn't even have to be like famous people or people that are super rich. It has to be people that
do this every day.
Use this.
Yes.
Exactly. After that's been validated, what I would do is, let's say it's somewhat been validated, right? Even then, there's no perfect.
There's no 100%, 0%.
I would, at that point, it would be a question of money for me, because anything that you do from that point on is going to cost you money.
Correct.
So what would you do in that case? Like, what would be the next thing you would do?
Personally? For what?
After let's say you've got market validation, idea validation, and now the question is money, right?
Yeah.
What would you do?
Well, I think one of the first things to do, let's say if you're a stranger to the space, is to see what the market standards are. Just do your research on the industry, what it looks like to create some software, how long it takes. Just get a little bit more educated about the world that you're, potentially about to step into.
Yep. Like what it takes to build it.
What it takes to do it. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not talking about calling a company yet. I'm just talking about doing some simple Google searches,
100%.
Taking some time.
Educate yourself.
Get a little Google Doc and write some notes, write down your questions, everything like that. And then now once you're in a place where you got the market validation, let's say you have a sketch or, something a little bit more digital and visual, you've spoken to the industry in quote unquote, it seems like this could be something that would be super valuable to them.
Yep.
Now you've also done some research about what it would look like on a service level to bring this to life. And again, I'm talking about simple Google searches. The next thing for me that I am doing is I'm going to have a conversation with someone that does this for a living and see what that might look like on a surface level, and probably again find out.
Does this for a living? Like does what?
I'm calling a software company.
Okay.
To say,
see
again,
what the possibilities are.
See what the possibilities are. Now, I think for me, like if this is personally, I'm doing this, that first call is going to be more about information. I'm probably not discussing my idea too much. I want to find out what the process is, what some timelines are, cost, get just educated on what this even looks like.
I want to add a point to what you're just saying. Very vital point. If you do have let's say a unicorn idea or a super unique idea, and you are talking to other companies that have the resources to take that idea and make it a reality without you, 100% sign NDAs. You can
say that one more time.
100% get NDAs signed.
Yes.
Non-disclosure agreements. Anyone that you're talking to, if it's your uncle down the street, getting some sort of validation, anything. When you're talking details, technical details,
actual details, not just theoretical stuff.
Like theoretical stuff, get an NDA signed.
Briefly go over what an NDA is?
Correct. I mean, mostly important, it's basically a non-disclosure agreement that basically says that anything that I'm telling you is confidential. Anything I'm sharing with you, any material, is confidential and cannot be breached.
Yep.
So it's a free template that you can find anywhere. You can even go to, let's say, a site like LegalZoom and get one of their lawyers or Legal Shield and have somebody draw something up for you for like $100. It's worth the investment because you want to be protected every step of the way when you're doing this, especially if you feel like you've got something really good, really that holds strong intellectual property. One of the other things that I would do, but this is really good because what you're talking about is market research, and essentially just scouting and gathering information and knowledge on how to build this. So what you're saying is option number one, which is get an experienced team that's been doing this for years, get a custom software company that has been doing this for years. Option number two is the more expensive route and more time consuming and sometimes more fruitful. And also, basically option number two is when you're building a team on your own. You're building custom software developers. I've done both numerous times. And I can tell you that option number one is significantly easier. Option number two is more expensive on the back end. Takes a lot more work, but it has its pros.
For sure. I mean, what would be the route that you would take?
Now, in this day and age, I would take option number one, which is get an experienced team to bring this to life from start to finish. Back in the day, I've done this numerous times. I've done option number two. I've built several teams. I've built I've managed over 40, 50 developers, over a span of a couple years. So I could tell you that working with engineers is a whole nother game.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have any sort of project management
or technical
background. Don't even try without educating yourself first and learning and taking the time to do the due diligence. But
anyway,
so let's say you've done your market research, and let's say you figured out that, okay, building my app is going to cost, from a software dev expense perspective, it's going to cost me $50,000 or $60,000. You go to your Chase Bank and you realize, fuck, I only got 15. What do you do, Mr. Jack?
I think this is a very pivotal moment, because now you're in a place where it's like, you know what? Do I really want to do this? I don't even have the money for it, because if you only have 15K, you ain't using 15K. What are you going to use? Are you going to use 5? Maybe you are the guys like, I'm risking it all. I know what you would do. So I'm going to ask.
What would I do?
But again, now you're in a place where
if you're doubting if your idea's not even good, then we should even do it.
That's what I'm saying. Like now, because I feel like there's going to be, like there's possibilities where self-assessment. Do I actually want to do this? Because let's say I only have 15K in the bank. Am I going all in on this? Or am I just going to be like, you know what, it was good, but like I don't think I'm going to do it. Like I'll just,
So what are the steps here to identify and get past this point, right?
Steps are
diagnosing.
Do you want it? Like how badly do you want it? Are you ready to work? Are you ready to take the risk? Most importantly,
are the risks worth it?
Are the risks worth it? And then also something to consider is, let's say you're taking the risk. You have to do risk management and calculation. Where if it doesn't go the way I want to, will I still be okay? Am I going to be out on the street?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Some people have risked it all, and it's like, if this doesn't work, I am going to be in Central Park.
99% of the people that have risked it all have failed. Just keep that stat in mind. So are you the 1%, or are you going to be the 99%? It's how much your determination, how good your idea is, and a combination of luck will determine that.
Yeah, and execution.
Yeah.
But so let's say 15K, and as you said, it costs 15. I have 15. Costs 50.
That's just to build the MVP. That's not even talking about building like a marketing team or a
that's just to get
out there.
The thing ready, and it's working.
MVP in the world of tech is a minimal viable product. Basically, it's the first version of your product that's functional. Version 1, you can launch it on the App Store. You can actually have people start downloading it. It's basically, imagine you're playing a beta version or an alpha version of a game.
Yeah, that, and think about the first time Instagram ever came out, and then also now think about what it looks like now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, what I am doing is, because a couple of things come to mind. Number one, do I want to now start going to friends and family to say, okay, hey, Uncle John, do you have X amount? I have this really good idea, and blah, 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 go through the whole pitch. Number two, take out a loan of some sort from the bank. Maybe that's a potential route that you can go. Number three is, if the MVP costs 50, is there a way that I can start and get something for less than that? Maybe under 10. Is there anything I can do to get something tangible without doing the entire thing that I can have?
I would say, if I had to pick anything out of some of the things that you mentioned, I would the number one thing I would do is easily, first, now that I know the costs and I know what it will take to bring the MVP to life, I would start doing some market research on what it would cost from a marketing perspective, what it would cost from other expenses, maintenance,
get a total expense kind of report.
Expense on and what your runway is going to look like for, for how long?
18 months.
18 months
typically is the
sweet spot.
The sweet spot.
You should always kind of like map things out. Year and a half. Get a runway together. Project what you're going to be doing. You're not going to be making it unless you're somewhat of in the world of selling something tangible or in a digital services world. You're not going to be making any money for the first couple years. So the reality is, what's the future and what's the prospect looking like for you at a tech startup, right? And how fast can you get to that? And that's the challenge. Now, Once you've mapped these things out, I would start preparing some financials, some projections, some realistic, tangible things that you can hit. What would you do with the money that you had? So imagine you did have 50 grand. Imagine you had 100 grand. What would you do with it? 100 grand, 50 of it goes to tech. Then what? What do you do with the rest? Because look, you build the MVP for 50. Let's say you have that money. It doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't guarantee you're going to get to the next stage. You have an MVP. What do you do with it now? What's the goal? Is the goal to raise venture capital funds? You can't do that without some sort of an idea or a concept, right? Back in the day, a lot of unicorn ideas got funded, got $1 million, got $1 billion off of a concept without ever having a product demo. We are not in that world anymore. The VCs in this day and age, majority of the VCs will want you to see you have some traction. How many users do you have on your platform?
You got some skin in the game a little bit.
How much money have you put in? How many users do you have on your platform? If it's a tech app, how much money have you generated? Are
you profitable?
Are you profitable? Are you scalable? All these questions need to be answered, I would say. That's what the angels and the VCs care about in this day and age, for you to be able to be a product that they would invest in. If you can't hit any of these metrics, they most likely won't invest in this day and age. I'm talking about 2022. Again, 10, 15 years ago, the landscape was very, very different. But right now, that's why having market validation is important. Having an idea on a product demo is important. Preparing a pitch deck is important. There's so many different things we can talk about. But the reality is, now, if money is a problem, I would start mapping out how much money I would need. Then I would set up a target. Let's raise 100 grand. Like if 50 grand is what it's going to cost, at the bare minimum, let's get 100 grand. I'll put in, you know what I would do. I'd put all that 15 grand in.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh man, I need another 85,000. What do I do? I personally would, here's the thing. I have never done this before, but now in this landscape and in terms of how fast you want to go on looking and from lessons learned, I would shop it around to friends and family. That's your easiest in.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, if you don't have the capability to convince your friends and family about your vision and your idea, and giving them skin in the game, you have to offer up equity for them to invest in your money. Ownership. Then it's almost like something that you have to really think about. Like, this is something you're going to be doing in your startup journey in your career. You're going to be pitching to investors.
Yep.
If you don't have the capability to be able to convince somebody else that's not you, your idea, you're going to fail. No one's going to come to you and be like, I want this idea. I want to be a part of this. Unless you've really got something phenomenal, that's not going to happen. You have to go out of your way to be able to sell them.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You know?
I agree with that.
So I would set up a target. I would tap friends and family. I would do a loan only in dire situations and worst case scenario. So let's say I was able to meet 100 grand between 2-3, cousins, uncles, whatever. And they got some skin in the game, but they're more like just silent backseat investors.
Yeah, they just gave you the money, in other words.
Correct. Maybe I got my cousin coming in and he's going to help me out because he put in less amount of money, but he wants more of a take, whatever it is. And I need co-founders. I need people that's going to help me run.
You.
Correct. Establish all that. And then at this point, we start, Now, the other thing is, let's just say that you got your target and you weren't able to meet your fundraising target. I would just think about exactly what you said, which is what's the most that you can do with a limited budget.
Yeah.
Get even a more limited MVP out and come up with a very hardcore, labor-intensive marketing plan instead of a more digitized plan or more automated plan that you would have originally done. Just anything to kind of keep the ball rolling. And that would be my goal. That would be my priority. And from this point on,
I think that now that you have, so are we in a position now where we have raised the money?
Yeah, let's say friends and family.
Okay, so you raised, the app cost 50 grand. You raised 100. Okay. So now, at this point also, you have your, let's say, expense report, what you can expect. Now, also that being said, you might want to think about things that are going to be unexpected. So maybe a little pool that's like, hey, this is for, I'm not going to say emergencies, but you don't know what you don't know, right? Especially in the tech scene, tech world. So you got the money. You're starting to build a little team here. Got your, cousin Jeff. That's a good co-founder.
Yeah, Jeff.
And
Every time I hear Jeff, man.
And now you call up, X guy at X company, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's move.
Yeah, 100%. I think as you kind of move on this, the story is like really straightforward, right? You build the MVP, you put in money into marketing, see if you get some sort of proof of concept, see if there's any sort of user acquisition or traction growth, and then go to potentially raise VC money. Well, that's typically the steps in order, right?
That is the steps.
Well, we're talking more startup perspective, but I want to kind of talk about specifics of what if you're on a tight budget? What if you have an app idea and you're on a very, very tight budget and you still want to get going with it because you're so passionate and you believe in it? What do you do? So I kind of want to address that. Like, what would I do in this case? What would you do in this case? Would you just give up?
No. If I really believed in it, I wouldn't give up.
Okay.
I mean, obviously.
Let's say no one's giving. Let's say nobody in your family and your friends and fam are investing in this idea.
Okay.
Like you're shit out of luck.
Obviously, I would like I mentioned before. See if there's any cost-effective option or cheap option. Whether maybe it's not even completing the MVP or the app, but again, something that would move me along and give me progress. I would see what those options are. Another option is, there's platforms out there like Start Engine that are crowdfunding, right? So you make a campaign, people are able to, go on, view your campaign. What I mean by campaign is, a page displaying your idea or the product, videos, information, so on and so forth. People can not donate, but there's a couple different structures that you can do, but essentially they give you, they're going to invest in you and they'll get XYZ, right? A couple different structures you can do. That's another option. Or the option is, I have the idea. I know what the costs are. I know what the immediate costs are. I know what, what might be the longer term costs. This is what I have. This is what I need. Now I'm just going to go work my face off, whether it's at my job, side hustles, whatever. And I need to hit these targets that I've set for myself.
Yeah, these are like on your own, right?
On my own.
Save money as much as you can and try to hit that metric on your own because nobody else is investing in it.
Exactly.
Yeah, these are really good points. I wasn't going to say any of these things, but these are really good points, and I'm glad you said it. But here's the thing. That's a very risky option. All of these are risky options.
Which one?
The last one is a very risky option because what if it takes you a year and a half, and somebody else comes up with that idea? How many times have we encountered the amount of things that we're like, okay, or someone said that, man, I thought about this first, but someone else came up with the idea.
I thought about Facebook in 1978. It's like, okay.
Well, I had something personal like that. We're in the tech world, right? We build apps for a living and games for a living. But when you came in, like, I told you that there was this idea that for a client that we're working on, and I thought about this idea a couple years ago. Do you remember that? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think.
But anyway, I think this happens quite a bit is why I'm saying this. Like, yeah, maybe you're spending a year and a half on raising that money on your own, and then it's just too late. And then someone else, you're just not able to hit the market anymore because someone's already done it. What I would do in that process is there's a couple things to identify where you are in your journey and your path, right? One is if you're cash rich, but time poor. Another one is if you're time rich and cash rich. Like if
you have a lot of both, yes.
Yeah, you have a lot of both. And then the third one is basically the opposite of what I just said, right? No
cash, a lot of time.
Yeah, no cash, a lot of time. If you've got no cash, a lot of time, there are a lot of free tools available. And this is what I would do. I'm imagining I've got no cash, but a lot of time. I would essentially go to platforms like Code Academy. There's so many free tools where you can teach yourself the code. Like if you can't get anybody to invest in your idea, and you still believe that this is a game changer, you got to get your hands dirty. You got to teach yourself things that you've never been able to do before. You got to go out of your way. I mean, there's hundreds and thousands of resources online that will enable you to learn how to code in HTML, CSS, how to build an app on iOS and Swift. The reason why people don't do it is because typically it takes years and years of experience. It's very difficult. But the reality is all the resources are available for you. Depends on how bad you want it.
Well, so then what's the difference between taking 6 months to learn how to code versus taking 6 months to save money to get a professional to do it.
Because in 6 months' time, are you going to be able to raise 50? Are you going to be able to make 50 grand by doing side hustles and part-time job?
It's possible.
No, depends. The majority of people don't do that. In 6 months' time, you're making 50 grand while
Well,
living.
not even 6 months. Let's say a year. Because realistically, if you are developing an app,
Okay,
you ain't
a
going to be
year-
learn how to do an app in
Correct.
1 year. You know?
But that's the thing. There are a lot of boot camps. There are a lot of quicker ways to turn around. The reason why I say this is there are a lot of hacker forums.
Yes.
There are a lot of forums where you can make developer friends. There are a lot of you are more likely to recruit a programmer or an engineer to join your team and your idea and your vision
That
if
is
you speak that language.
That is a good angle. That is a good angle that I like. The other one, not so much.
But that's you let me get to that angle. The angle is you need to be able to speak that language for anybody to be able to respect you and
To
be able
recruit.
to level so you can recruit and build
Okay.
a team.
Yeah.
There's a couple routes you can take.
Yes.
Friends and family bringing on, they have no technical expertise, money, time, everything's a problem. Or you just kind of get your hands dirty on your own, put in the time, put in the effort. It's going to be very difficult to do. But
Easily.
the minute that you can kind of level with those people and be able to speak that language, you can start focusing and converting and translating your idea in a more tangible way. That's what I would do. I'm just talking about things that I would follow.
Yeah, I think, although I like that portion, I think one of the angles that we haven't touched upon is obviously when you're building an app, there's the coding side, but also the design side. I think what might be more effective is teaching yourself how to design first, and that you now actually have something like, wow, this is what the app could look like realistically.
100%.
And
It's a lot
now
easier
you
to
can
design.
do to maybe do crowdfunding because you actually have something, or maybe you revisit the family and friends, and then even still you take maybe some boot camp, just like, hey, what do you think about this? You have something tangible. I think that's a lot more. I think it's a lot easier personally.
100% is a lot easier, and also before you can even like take your idea and when you're coding an app where you're learning, you're teaching yourself to code, you're not really coding your app the way you want it to be. You're really
Exactly.
teaching yourself syntax, you're teaching yourself
Fundamentals.
the fundamentals, how the code works, how everything is connected. That's how you're kind of getting familiarized with
Teaching
any
yourself how to
environment.
ride a bike. You're not doing tricks.
No, but the idea is to kind of get familiarized, and also you never know. Like you might be able to pull out your idea. I've seen people do miracles in like a week when it comes to coding. We're talking about a simple MVP. Depends how complex the app idea. If it's simple,
I
just
told you, you know
doesn't
my
require-
idea already.
huh?
You know my idea.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about your real idea.
No, the idea that we're talking
Oh,
about
the
now.
sneaker shop?
The sneaker shop.
Yeah, think about it. Imagine you don't need user authentication. Imagine you don't need profile customization. Only thing you're doing is opening up an app and that scan feature. That's it.
That's the hardest
You
part,
think
though.
that's no? You think that's going to take a year to build?
I didn't say
A
that.
good developer or some or
What do you
two-
think the timeline
a
would be?
2-year experienced developer can create a prototype within 2 months.
Functional prototype,
A
obviously.
functional prototype of just that function. That's it.
Mhm.
I don't care about anything else. So the reality is, it's depends on the complexity. It's a lot more feasible than you think. You just have to understand how it works, and you have to
Mhm.
problem solve.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely problem solve for sure. All right, so let's move along here in the journey. So
Yeah. So I mean, the reason why I say this is you're assembling a team essentially, right?
Mhm.
And then you get to a point where you have to get people that are experienced at things that you are not. So let's say marketing.
I would say, yeah, that's definitely a big hurdle that sometimes people struggle with is building a good team. I mean, we've spoken a lot about this. Building a good team that you can trust, that's integrity based, but most of all, you all complement each other. You know, that's something that I've always thought that you've done a good job at. You know, that we've done a good job at is building, you know, good
Yeah.
teams and bringing in good people. You know,
Yeah, thank you, man. I mean, yeah, we do this together now. We have
Mhm.
a lot of really good people, good minds, and yeah. But I think that comes with experience and time.
Without a
Initially,
doubt.
you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you haven't listened to my origin story, made that mistake quite a few times.
Oh yeah, I think both the episodes came out essentially. Yeah.
I think the second one's coming out super soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a perfect. We'll link that episode to this because this is a perfect perfect correspondence with that episode.
Yeah.
We're talking about
Team building and
of
stuff.
team building, raw startup experience, and just a lot of lessons learned and a lot of good things, and that have helped you develop what you're doing. But yeah, if you guys haven't listened to Jack's origin story, I think it's out now, and
Yeah.
I
You can
think
find out more about me if you'd like.
yes, sir.
So, what's so funny, producer? Me? He's laughing at me. What? All right. So, let's say that, you know what? Let's say that you have gone to some hackathons, some boot camps, and you've met Jeremy. Jeremy seems to be an experienced Apple iOS developer.
Mm-hmm.
You become very friendly with him, and he's like, "Yo, like I want to help you." What happens now?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys start developing the app. I want to kind of progress here to kind of give someone a full life journey.
I mean, yeah, no, you really just talk about the idea. You get the NDA signed, you talk about the idea and see if this is something that they bite. The minute you have an engineer that's experienced or that's someone that's interested as much as you are, it's not about money. It's not about convincing people to buy into your idea with money. Right?
Correct.
That's very difficult. Of course, if you've managed to do that, you're way further along. But it's more about convincing somebody or telling or just
do they believe
in your vision as much as you do, or even close. Maybe not. It'll never be as much because that's your baby will always be your baby. They don't own anything of it, so they'll never have the same level of belief. But how hard can you sell anybody of the idea? Like, is this palatable to anybody? You know, so that's what it would be. So yeah, if you had another fellow engineer or someone that's an engineer, you've never really done anything, and they're like, you know what? Give me 40% of the company, I can build this out for you. And I want a majority ownership, or I want 50-50 with you. Think about it. If you've got no other options and you've got a developer that's telling you that he's going to bring you an MVP and he wants to be 50% owner, that's great. That's your CTO right there. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're never going to be able to bring that to life.
I mean,
you know,
you've said this many, many times, but, 50% of nothing is nothing.
0%.
Mm-hmm.
50% of the he can't harp onto that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people have made a lot of mistakes in the past for crazy unicorn ideas.
You know what? That's something I want to talk about. What are some mistakes that can be made?
I think we talked about mistakes in the last 30, 40 minutes that we talked about a lot of different things that you can avoid.
Mm-hmm.
But in a nutshell, in summary, I think what we should focus on is like options that you have, like things that you can do. Because like, there could be 50,000 mistakes. But the biggest thing is spending too much, spending your money. The biggest mistake for me is unwisely spending and throwing away your money. Hard-earned money without a game plan. People get really excited and really passionate, and they don't really tactically think about a solution, and they just go all in. That would be the biggest mistake that you make. So that's why
that in the plan. I think the plan. If you have a plan of how you're going to spend your money and plan, I'm not going to say plan B, but kind of outlining what exactly you want to do.
I just want you to turn your head real quick and look at that guy on the bike. Do you see that guy? Bro, he's got a pirate flag on his bike. He has a pirate flag on his bike, like a big black pirate flag.
He does.
Just going across Best Buy right now.
I thought he had like a pizza or something on the front.
Did you see that, James? No, bro. He's got a pirate flag with a skull and everything.
He's got Captain Jack Sparrow. He's Captain Jack Sparrow riding a bike.
So sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
I think we covered some good points.
Okay.
And if you want to summarize like what to do, but I think most of what we talked about is what would you say?
What
would be some avoid some pitfalls?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot. I think maybe one of the only ones we didn't really cover on is make sure you have your paperwork squared away.
Oh, like with
team members and everything like that. Because like you were just about to say, in the beginning everyone's excited. But again, just make sure that everyone's clear. Everyone has everyone's expectations are managed. Everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
Job responsibilities, what I can expect from you, what you can expect from me.
Yeah.
Something we didn't touch on. Is it necessary in the very, very beginning? Maybe, maybe not. Depends what kind of person you are, I guess. But doing some sort of cap table, outlining percentages and who owns what and everything like that. Again, just make sure that your T's are crossed and I's are dotted, because let's say you do have that unicorn idea that you were saying. Let's say that in the first year, you guys do very, very well. Next thing you know, you're going to have your team fighting internally that, I thought I was getting this and you were getting this and I wasn't. I mean, that is a absolute nightmare, and it does happen where people crumble, teams crumble like that. So again, just my 2 cents.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I can go on and on about this. I've got so many other things that pitfalls and things that I would say, but we'll probably cover this in future episodes. But I think it's a good time to wrap.
Well, closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. I guess what I was gonna say, I'll just say it. I think don't underestimate the value of what market research can do for you and market validation.
I would 100% agree with that.
I didn't really do much when I started my first company, and we had to pivot. And when we did, we wasted a lot of time initially.
Did you do market research based to do the pivot?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we were already in the market.
Okay.
So it's different. But take your time. Do that product demo. Draw up that sketch, even if you don't have any design experience or have a designer on your team. Whatever it is, get market validation, get product validation, idea validation. Take your time to see what's like out there, and don't just rush into it. Because a lot of times the adrenaline, the dopamine, everything that's basically clouding your mind that this is a go, is not allowing you to kind of see that there might be things that you need to consider.
It's like Love is Blind.
Yeah. The show?
I was going to see if you go on to that. No, it's like, how they say, love blinds you.
Right.
That kind of thing. Like if you love your idea, you might be blind to some of those pitfalls that you were mentioning.
Correct. I just say that if you haven't started anything, you're in the perfect position because you can at least start thinking about it, So that'd be my closing statement. What about you?
Awesome. I think a lot of what you had mentioned, and again, just make sure that stay organized. And if you love it, don't let any hurdles. If you believe in it, don't let any hurdles or setbacks, negative people, things that happen to you. Just keep the ball rolling. Believe in yourself and get the job done. If you won't fail unless you quit.
Yeah. Don't ever play yourself.
You know who believed in us? Tell me.
You know who believed in them?
Who?
God did.
God did. But I guess
DJ Khaled.
Shout out DJ Khaled. I guess in wrapping, we hope that you learn a couple things, from this episode. If you're on this journey, feel free to reach out. Be more than happy, to help, honestly, whether it's on our personal socials or on Venture Hustles. And as always, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, Instagram, no matter where you are. TikTok, no matter where you are. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day and night. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit. You just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles. Time to take it to the next level. Let's go.